In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to keep track of your muscle gain progress as a basketball player so you can maximize muscle gain in your performance on the court while also minimizing fat gain in the occurrence of plateaus and getting stuck. So make sure you watch till the end of the video so you understand this and you can really maximize your muscle gain progress. So far in the series, we have your calories dialed in, we have your protein dialed in. We haven't quite gotten to fat and carbs yet. We'll get there in the next video. But in today's video, what I want to do is discuss how you can assess your progress with certain metrics I like to use with my pro athletes, and also make adjustments when necessary and troubleshoot any issues that might come up early on in the process. And metrics are so important. A lot of times, basketball players and people in general just guess with their nutrition. And having data around your progress and keeping track of it helps us to make very informed decisions and informed adjustments and not guess with your nutrition. A lot of times, like I said, people will just go off of what they feel like, or they think they've hit a plateau, they think they're not getting stronger, they think their performance on the court is not improving. And how do you actually know that unless you're keeping track of it? You can't. And sometimes you might guess the right way and it might work out. Sometimes you might guess the wrong way and it's not gonna work out. And that can be really frustrating because in those situations, you often feel like you don't have any control over what's going on. And you have a lot more control than you think. You just gotta keep track of this stuff so you can actually make informed decisions. With my clients, every single adjustment we make, there's a reason behind it. We're never doing something just because I feel like it. The numbers support it, the data supports it. And that's why we're able to see such good progress. So in terms of metrics I want you to keep track of to track your progress, the first and most obvious one being your weight. Just weigh in every single day when you wake up, go to the bathroom, before you eat or drink anything, weigh yourself. I want you to weigh yourself every day, not because I want you to stress over daily fluctuations, because we both know weight's gonna fluctuate up and down from day to day. That's just part of the process. And we don't wanna make calorie adjustments based on daily fluctuations because a lot of times those daily fluctuations are solely based on water weight or like just food being in your GI system and not on fat or muscle gain. So we don't want to make calorie adjustments too drastically there. But I do want you to weigh yourself every day because that's going to allow us to have a weekly average. And a weekly average is very important because that gives us the most accurate depiction of how your weight is trending over time. So again, don't stress over the daily fluctuations, but weigh yourself every day so we can get that average every week and make smart adjustments. Along with your weight, I also want you to keep track of progress pictures. And not because we're so heavily focused on your physique and stuff like that. Obviously, your number one priority is performing as a basketball player, but it's just another data point that we can have. And in some cases, especially if you're a beginner in the gym and maybe if you're a little bit overweight to begin with, you might actually lose weight and gain muscle. You might maintain your weight and gain muscle. It's not unheard of. So we want to have that extra layer of data just to make sure, okay, weight's not going up, but hey, I'm looking better in the mirror, so I don't think I need to make a drastic calorie adjustment just yet. And then along with the more aesthetic metrics like weight and progress pictures, I also want you to keep track of your training performance, like your weights in the gym, reps, sets, things like that. Even in your basketball workouts, if you want to keep track of the shooting percentage or certain times on drills and things like that, that might be helpful just to make sure you're progressing in the right direction. And a lot of times, again, you might not gain weight and you might not gain a bunch of size, but if you're getting stronger, it's a pretty good indication that you're building muscle. And even if you're not getting super jacked, again, that's not the goal here. We want you to put on muscle to help your performance in basketball. And if you're not gaining a ton of weight, but you are getting a lot stronger on the court, a lot faster on the court, that's a huge win. So we want to keep track of training performance to make sure that things are going in the right direction. And then another type of metric that I like to track with my athletes is called biofeedback. And biofeedback is kind of an umbrella term. And the name is a pretty good indication as to what the word means. Biofeedback is just the feedback that your body is giving you as to how the nutrition plan is working. So certain things like energy levels, mood, stress, digestion, hunger, sleep quality, things of that nature fall under the category of biofeedback. And there's a bunch of other categories, but I don't want to overwhelm you with that because a lot of them you don't need to track. Those are just the ones that I like to track most often. And I actually linked a spreadsheet down below that I use with my clients. So if you want access to that, you can check that out in the description below. I'll give it to you completely for free, so you can check that out below. All right, now that you understand what metrics you should be tracking, now I've got to answer the question, how quickly should you gain weight as a basketball player? And again, like I said, I think a lot of hoopers overvalue the number on the scale. Obviously, it's a pretty good indicator that muscle gain is occurring, but we also don't want to go so quickly that you feel slow, heavy, lethargic, sluggish, and you're putting on more body fat than you would like to. So typically I recommend, in terms of rate of weight gain, around 1% of your body weight per month is a pretty good rate to aim for. And it sounds like not that much, but if you think about it, if you're 200 pounds, you're putting on about 2 pounds per month. And you think about 2 pounds, that's like 2 16-ounce steaks. And I know it's a silly comparison, but I think it does a pretty good job of illustrating. 2 pounds doesn't sound like a lot, but it is a pretty significant amount of lean muscle mass. So I would recommend going for 1% of your body weight per month. Obviously, some months you might gain more than that, some months you might gain less than that. And I would also recommend breaking that down into kind of a weekly rate that you're aiming for. So obviously, if you're going for 1% of your body weight per month, you're going for about 0.5% of your body weight every 2 weeks. And if you're breaking it down even further than that, about 0.25% of your body weight every week. And obviously on a weekly basis, some weeks you're gonna gain more than that. Some weeks you're gonna gain much less than that. Some weeks you might actually lose weight, and that's okay. We just want the overall trend to be roughly 1% of your body weight per month. And also something to realize with weight gain for muscle growth as well, when you first get into a calorie surplus, you'll probably see a pretty drastic upward fluctuation in the scale. Some of that's gonna be water weight, some of that's gonna be distorted glycogen because you're gonna be eating more carbohydrates and more food in general. So there's also gonna be more food in your digestive system as well. And obviously some of it might be muscle. So you'll probably see a pretty quick upward fluctuation, and then within 1 to 3 weeks, that should likely flatten out. And then you'll be aiming for that 1% of your body weight per month. Now, if you don't end up going into a calorie surplus at first, you don't see that upward fluctuation, you're not gaining weight at that rate that we want to, it's okay. This is why we're tracking the metrics so we can actually make informed adjustments. And as long as you're tracking everything, you stay patient and you make the appropriate adjustments, you'll be totally fine. And what I like to recommend typically is if after 2 weeks you haven't gained that 0.5% of your body weight, then increase your calories by 5%. That should be enough to get things going in the right direction. And then even if that's not enough, just repeat that process. If you increase by 5%, you're still not gaining that 0.5% of your body weight after the next 2 weeks, then increase it again by 5% until you get to that tipping point. Once you find that tipping point, it gets pretty straightforward. The toughest part when it comes to muscle gain is finding that initial tipping point when it comes to calories, because maintenance is more of a range rather than a specific number. So even though your maintenance based on the calculator might have said 3,000 calories, it might be more like 2,800 to 3,200. So you got to get outside of that maintenance range. And once you get outside that range, putting on weight becomes fairly straightforward. But hopefully that makes sense. That's why we want to track everything and just make sure you're eating enough to get things going in the right direction. And then on the other hand, if after 2 weeks you're feeling super heavy, lethargic, sluggish, bloated, and maybe you've gained a little more weight than you would have liked, then you can always dial it back and just go in reverse of that other adjustment I just said. So instead of increasing by 5%, decrease calories by 5%. And then see how you feel. And if you still feel a little bloated, sluggish, lethargic, decrease it again by 5%, so on and so forth. You find that sweet spot where you feel strong, you feel explosive, you're gaining weight, but you're not gaining so much weight that you feel slow and sluggish on the court. And then as always, if you have any questions about this stuff, because a lot of this stuff is very, very individual. So even with the recommendations I'm giving out right now, some of it might vary depending on your individual situation. This is where having individual support can be very helpful. So I linked access to a Facebook group down below where I'm in there giving tips, tricks, free content exclusive to the Facebook group. And also you have direct access to me for questions. You can message me. I'm gonna be going live in there, interviewing really amazing podcast guests on there. So long story short, pretty cool group. And just to make sure you're getting that individual support, individual help, individual accountability, I'll link that in the description below. It's totally free. I want to help out. So if there's any way I can help out and make sure you're going in the right direction when it comes to your nutrition, pop in that Facebook group, say what's up, ask any questions you have, and I'd be more than happy to help you out. So again, we want to make sure we're tracking metrics, and those metrics will allow us to make those appropriate adjustments like I just talked about. And if you have any questions about that, again, join the Facebook group, let me know. And in the next video, we'll actually be discussing the other two macros. So we have calories dialed in, which is not a macro, but we have calories dialed in. We have protein dialed in, so our first macronutrient. And then in the next video, we'll be discussing carbohydrates and fats, which are very important as a basketball player. So you'll definitely want to watch that. So drop a like if you enjoyed this one, subscribe so you don't miss I think it's part 7, I think. Yeah. So you don't miss part 7 of the series, and I will see you in the next video.